Hey you guys, hope you're all healthy and happy and having fun. This is going to be my second video that I've uploaded, so still completely new to all this recording and YouTube stuff, so please bear with me. But this video it's not so much a review, it's just my opinions on this bike that I'm riding at the moment, which is the Lexmoto 125 Venom, SK I believe it is. I'm pretty sure it's a 2016 model, but I bought it and registered in 2017, August 2017. I think they had it on display in the shop up until that point, and there was no miles on it when I bought it, so it was virtually as new. So I bought it in, as I say, August 2017. Before that I had a Rev and Go scooter, Twisted Go scooter, that failed on me, so my reasons for buying this bike, to be honest, was budget. This bike is around £1,800 on the road, and I'm pretty sure that's still the same price for a new Venom, because they're still making these bikes today. This is a carburettor version, not the EFI, the fuel injection. So this is only Euro 3, I think it makes it. Euro 4 and 5 are now for the EFI models, which I don't think they make any carburettor versions anymore of anything. When I bought it, it was quite sluggish and would struggle up hills. I mean, I'm not the smallest of guys. I'm 5'11", and at the time I was weighing somewhere in the region of 19 stone. So you can imagine the poor little single cylinder 125 engine was having to work quite hard to lug my bulk around. The only issues I had when I bought it was, as I said, it was quite sluggish and struggled up hills and in headwinds. So I had the carburettor rejetted, and I got this silly loud exhaust on it to try and just boost the power a little bit, and the rejetting and changing the air filter and exhaust did actually help the problem. It still gets bogged down a little, but it manages now. It's not impossible, which is close to how it was when I first got it. The other issue I had when I bought the bike was the electrics. There was a small fault with the wiring behind the cluster there, the instruments, which meant the headlight kept going off. It turned out all it was a loose connection, but unfortunately before we found the loose connection, it shorted out and it melted a wire into the chock block. That was repaired pretty much instantly. I dropped it off at the garage and the guys repaired it within, I think it was an hour and a half. So obviously it wasn't a big job. He just took out the bird block and the wire, replaced it, and since then it's been no issues, no hassles whatsoever. So from new, they are the only two things that I can think of that was a negative. Anything else has been a-okay with this bike. It's never let me down. The only times it's let me down is on that small electrical fault at the beginning, and when I kept forgetting to switch the isolation switch off, which was an embarrassing phone call to the garage, complaining that my bike wouldn't start. So he ran through the things over the phone with me, and the first thing he said was, "Is the side stand up?" I said yes. The second thing he said was, "Is the isolation switch switched off?" And I switched it off, and what do you know, it started first time. So that's rider error, not so much the bike. Other than that, I've really enjoyed owning this bike. I've had lots of flack about it being a Chinese import, the Lexmoto side of things. They get a lot of bad press. I would definitely buy another one. The only reason I'm not getting a Lexmoto is because I now feel I need or would like a bigger engine motorcycle, something with just a little bit more oomph. Lexmoto do have a 380 LXR. I think it's an LXR, which is it's a sports shape bike, but I've sat on one, and to be honest, it's not too sporty in the way that you sit on it. It's a very comfortable bike. The only reason I haven't gone for that one is because it's a new engine, and it hasn't been tried and tested enough for me to go for it at the time as I was ordering. I mean, now the bikes are out and there's a few reviews been done, and it's apparently a very good machine. So yeah, if I'd have held off just a little while, I probably would have ended up with another Lexmoto LXR. But I've gone for more of a tourer instead. So yeah, the styling of the bike is like a street naked, which suits me. You sit nice and upright on it. As I say, I'm 5'11", my legs are, I think I've got like a regular leg, a 31-inch inside leg, a little bit tucked up, but nothing too drastic. I'll be perfectly honest with you, if I'm out on the bike for a couple of hours, I do get a little cramped up in the legs, and my lower back does start aching a little. The lower back aching a little, I think, is due to, I don't know if this is the same for everyone or just I've got an odd-shaped bum, but this seat, it tends to throw you forwards a little bit, so you're leaning forwards like so, rather than being able to sit nice and upright. There is a little bit of pressure on my lower back. Nothing too drastic, and as I say, nothing that you notice with just a regular ride. But if you are spending more than a couple of hours on the bike, which I have done in the past, then it's definitely noticeable, and you have to have a 10-minute break just to get the circulation flowing in the old butt again, and that's all really. Other than that, the comfort for the bike is spot on. I've seen a couple of people riding these bikes. I've seen one person who was about 6'6" tall. He did look a little bit cramped up on it. And I've also seen someone who was quite a bit shorter than me, and the shorter guy, it did seem to fit them a whole lot better. As I say, I'm 5'11" with a medium sort of like regular leg, and I've had no hassles with this whatsoever. The engine on this bike, it's single cylinder air cooled, as are most 125s obviously, and it's adequate. It's I can't remember the horsepower off the top of my head. I think it was 10 or just under 10, but it definitely doesn't, it's definitely not a sports bike, but it's enough to get you through London traffic. It's enough to hold you. I mean, as I say, I was 19.5 stone. I've lost a little bit of weight since then, but when I was at 19.5 stone, this bike would sit and cruise at 60, 65. I mean, the revs were high all day long. It was okay. The harder I pushed it, I have had sort of like 70 out of it, but that was on a real good day. Downhill with a tailwind. I think the tailwind must have been 90 mile an hour. But yeah, as I say, it's definitely not a sports bike, but it's got a good comfortable position on it. It's a good steering lock on there, ideal for city commuting. Yeah, and that's that. I must admit, at the higher speeds, one thing that I will mention is at the higher speeds and the higher revs, it does vibrate a lot. It vibrates through the handlebars, and the petrol tank vibrates a hell of a lot, and where you're kind of pushed up against it, that can sometimes be uncomfortable or really nice, depending on how you feel about your nuts being vibrated. But it's yeah, there's worse things. But again, after, I'm talking a long time, I'm talking a couple of hours on the bike, that does become a little bit uncomfortable and you do need a bit of a rest. So that's it. So the only negatives are bearable negatives. There's nothing that has ever made me regret buying this bike or ever think to myself that I would never buy another Lexmoto. The positives are it's cheap, it's very economical, it's comfortable, and for me personally it's been reliable. So just my opinions, based on just my opinions, owning this bike for 2 and a bit years, it's a good bike. I would definitely have another one if I was in the market for a 125. And the negatives, as I say, there's not really any negatives that would stop me owning another one of these, or advising people not to buy one. I got my bike from a place in East London, SBK City. The dealership there, they're a Lexmoto dealership, and I must say those guys were fantastic. It's run by a guy down there called Rolf. He's a bit of a motorbike legend in his own right. The mechanics are good mechanics. They're thorough and honest as well. I asked for something to be done and they said it doesn't need to be done yet, so they had an opportunity there where they could have ripped me off, but they didn't. And that's that. So hope this information is, if not useful to anyone else, it just didn't bore you too much. Yeah, go for it. Buy a Lexmoto. Fantastic machines. Yeah, have fun, and never know, I may even put another video up at some times. Thanks for listening. Bye.